was the final film from Taiwanese new cinema legend Edward Yang and is about a family in Taipei, shifting between the perspectives of the middle-aged father, the young son and the teenage daughter. Scholar David Li argues that the film echoes reflexive modernity in Taiwan. Reflexive modernity is a huge concept, so my explanation in this video is obviously going to be limited. But firstly, we need to understand modernity, which, broadly speaking, can refer to the efforts of societies to dominate nature, extracting raw materials and dispersing them democratically. Hence why it's often associated with capitalism, industrialisation and techno-economic development. During reflexive modernity, however, which comes after modernity, societies are no longer burdened with problems of controlling or harnessing nature, but concern themselves more with the problems caused by modernity itself and its techno-economic developments. Reflexive meaning reflex, as in social development arising as a reflex to decisions or activities made during previous eras. One of the most internationally known examples of this is the global warming crisis, the environmental repercussions of previous generations' use of industrialisation and technological advances. But anyway, back to the film. Li argues that reflexive modernity is particularly relevant to Yi because unlike the US or UK, Taiwan's historical experience with capitalism is relatively recent and condensed. Modernity allegedly sets free individuals from structures like class, nation and the nuclear family. But from the perspective of reflexive modernity, it must not be viewed as being freed, but to reflect on the rules and resources of dysfunctional structures, and self-regulate the externally imposed governance of the previous era. Yi echoes reflexive modernity in several ways. One is the family dynamics itself. The wedding at the beginning of the film dismantles traditional structures, with the groom's former lover bursting into the banquet, accusing the bride of stealing her man, and apologises to the groom's mother for failing to become her daughter-in-law. The photo of the newlyweds is accidentally placed upside down, and the bride is clearly already pregnant, disrupting the old system of marriage before childbirth, a sign the traditional structures from previous eras are struggling to become relevant in the new age. The grandmother leaves the ceremony and suffers from a stroke, falling into a coma. The other family members speak to her about their burdens, but she's unable to help. In this world, she's a matriarch from a bygone age, no longer useful in the way she used to be. According to Li, she's a symbol of the newly built-in obsolescence of the old filial authority. Nonetheless, despite the filial and local no longer being stable in modern Taiwan, the ethical value that was once dependent on them is still vital. As Li states, the cultural capital, which belonged to a previous era, has not been entirely eradicated in the mixed and compressed modernity of Taiwan, and still holds some promise. We see this in the scene where the young son, Yang, pays tribute to the grandmother at her funeral. He apologises for not speaking with her during her coma, saying, "I thought whatever I told you, you would have already known. I know so little, but you know what I'll do when I grow up? I'll tell people what they do not know, and I'll show them what they cannot see." Although the film beautifully depicts Taiwan's modern advances of the time, it also exposes the limitations of human nature and life, the grandmother's death being a key symbol. Yang's little speech implies that despite Taiwan's ever-expanding circles of social knowledge, which is enabled by the liberating technologies of global modernity, they must always adhere to nature's limitations and the cycles of the species.